The sky tore open at dawn. A vessel, vast and smooth as obsidian glass, descended through Earth's atmosphere with no warning. It made no sound, no shockwave, yet every satellite and radar station across the globe went dark in synchrony. From Beijing to Berlin, a single word bloomed on encrypted military channels: Varbak. On the steps of the United Nations, the world held its breath. A red carpet, hastily unfurled between towering rows of international flags, led toward a glimmering dais. Soldiers, diplomats, and broadcasters stood shoulder to shoulder in rigid silence. Overhead, the ship hovered with unsettling stillness, an enormous black crescent illuminated by a cold blue light deep within its core. Then he appeared. The figure that stepped from the Varbak defied classification: tall, humanoid, yet entirely alien. His form was encased in iridescent black armor that shimmered with violet undertones. His head was smooth and helmed, with no visible eyes or mouth, yet his presence exuded comprehension and authority. In his elongated hands, he carried an ornate cube etched in moving script, pulsing with golden light. When he moved, he did not walk so much as glide, gravity obeying him as if he were its master. Beside him, Marcus Dren kept pace, stiff with purpose. A former diplomat turned global envoy, Dren was chosen not for his politics, but for his humanity. He had wept on live television during the Gulf harvest crisis and negotiated the Moon Water Accord with nothing but words. His presence now was intended to signal Earth's sincerity. Yet as he glanced sidelong at the alien ambassador, uncertainty weighed behind his composed exterior. His name is Karel, Marcus had been told by the interpreter drone 3 hours prior. He is not here to conquer. He brings a gift. Karel halted at the center of the dais and raised the cube. The air shimmered, and a warmth passed over the crowd like a breeze in spring. The cube floated from his hands and unfolded itself, revealing a pulsing core, light suspended in liquid geometry. A voice, not spoken but felt, rippled through every mind present, gentle and resonant. "We are the Elendari. We have watched your world from afar. We offer this relic, a seed of renewal. With it, you may reverse your dying oceans, cure your oldest plagues, and heal your wounded sky." A hush followed. Even the wind seemed to pause. Karel continued, his mental voice devoid of ego or menace. "This is our first gift. In peace, we offer kinship. Shall we begin?" Applause broke out first among the crowd's civilians, followed by cautious claps from diplomats and stunned soldiers. Across Earth's networks, billions watched, some openly weeping, others skeptical but transfixed. Hope, genuine and unfiltered, cracked open in even the most jaded hearts. But not all hearts. Beneath the surface of New York, within an armored command bunker known only to select defense ministers, General Roland watched the transmission with narrowed eyes. Beside him, a holographic dossier flickered, outlining Elendari ship specs, population estimates, and risk forecasts generated by strategic AI. The data painted Karel not as a diplomat, but as an existential threat. "They always come offering peace," Roland muttered. "Then they take." A young lieutenant glanced his way. "Sir, the relic scans clean. No radiation, no explosives. Whatever it is, it's real." Roland leaned forward. "Too real. You think they're handing us paradise because they're generous?" He tapped a command key. "Deploy Black Protocol. We cannot allow Earth to kneel, not even symbolically." Above ground, the ceremony neared its apex. Karel extended his arms. The relic, now hovering above him, rotated slowly, casting long, surreal shadows. It pulsed once, like a heartbeat, and the crowd collectively leaned forward, as if caught in gravity's pull. Marcus Dren smiled, genuinely now. He had feared deception, manipulation, maybe even a trap. But standing beside Karel, he felt none of that. Only a vast, quiet sorrow, like the alien was mourning what humanity had lost. He turned to the crowd, ready to speak, to accept the gift on behalf of Earth. Then the shot rang out. A flash. A whip crack. A hiss of energy through air. Karel staggered. The relic faltered in its orbit. His chest smoked where a bolt of plasma had struck, and he dropped to one knee. The crowd screamed. Soldiers raised weapons, some toward the sky, others toward each other. Dren fell beside Karel, shouting into his earpiece for medical drones, for a ceasefire, for sanity. But chaos had already bloomed. Another shot. A soldier went down. Flags caught fire. Someone triggered a defense perimeter. Drones unfolded like metal insects and zipped through the air. Screams turned to stampedes as the crowd fled the plaza. Karel looked up. His eyes were visible now, two spheres of deep blue, swirling with internal storms. He reached for the relic, fingers trembling, but it collapsed in on itself, imploding with a soundless pulse that bent the light around it. The sky darkened as if clouds had formed in seconds. Two Elendari drones swooped from the Varbak. With impossible precision, they extracted Karel's body and vanished into the ship's belly. No retaliation. No words. Just withdrawal. The ship rose, faster than any eye could track, and was gone. Silence returned to the plaza, broken only by the wails of the wounded and the staccato bark of radio signals trying to make sense of what had just occurred. On the dais, where moments ago a seed of hope had bloomed, only scorched pavement and twisted flags remained. In the command bunker below, Roland watched the retreating vessel with grim satisfaction. No more illusions, he said. If they want war, we'll give them war. But high above Earth, beyond the reach of satellites and missiles, the Varbak did not prepare for war. Not yet. Inside, Karel's shattered body floated in a chrysalis of pale light. The relic was gone, but something darker had taken its place. The Elendari healers did not speak as they worked. They did not mourn. They reforged. And Karel dreamed, not of peace, but of fire. Smoke drifted like torn silk through the shattered remains of the United Nations Plaza. Once a symbol of global unity, it now bore the scars of panic and betrayal, blood on marble, scorch marks along the flagstones, and broken flags fluttering without allegiance. Emergency drones buzzed through the air, scanning debris and carrying the wounded, while human soldiers barked orders with rising desperation. Marcus Dren sat against a cracked pillar, his suit soaked in someone else's blood. He pressed a shaky hand to his earpiece, but the calm line remained silent, jammed or destroyed. The relic was gone. Karel was gone. And the silence left in their place felt like judgment carved into the atmosphere. He had watched Karel fall. He had seen the light fade from those oceanic eyes. And even now, some part of him refused to believe that the first being who came in peace had died, without even raising a hand in defense. The official story moved faster than the facts. Within an hour, the attack was labeled an assassination attempt by rogue factions. No government took responsibility. Media outlets spun chaos into palatable theories, an alien weapon misfiring, a false flag, a misunderstanding. But behind every sanitized headline, the truth boiled. In a secured underground chamber beneath Geneva, General Roland stood before a tactical display as glowing red markers bloomed across the world map. Military installations, communications hubs, and early warning systems were being fortified at record pace. His officers moved like shadows, following orders with grim precision. Status on Project Perimeter? Roland asked. A woman in dark fatigues responded. Orbital defenses are coming online. AI sentience protocols restricted. Target recognition on standby. Good, he said. We've angered a god. Best to be ready when he returns. Someone else approached, Dr. Imre Jex, a theoretical xenologist once relegated to think tank obscurity. Now, after Karel's arrival, she was Roland's most valuable asset. She wore a face drawn from sleepless study, her hands trembling from caffeine and calculation. They won't respond with diplomacy, she said flatly. You struck during a peace ritual. That's like killing a high priest in the middle of communion. Roland didn't flinch. We prevented submission. You saw what they offered, a way to rewrite biology, physics, the climate. It's too much power. We'd be pets in their Eden. Imre stared at him. So you burned the garden. He turned from her and gestured toward the main screen, which now showed a ghostly outline of the Varbok hovering over a city. Paris? Nairobi? The systems couldn't keep up. The ship had vanished. Stealth, warp, something else entirely. No trail. No trace. No warning. They're gone, he said. But they're watching. Meanwhile, on the far side of Earth, something stirred beneath the seas of Antarctica. In the depths of an Elandari craft buried for millennia, the relic's pulse echoed faintly against the crystalline walls. Karel's body, still broken, floated within a bioreconstruction chamber. Healed not with stitches or machines, but with the very essence of Elandari matter, living architecture, responding to pain with purpose. Karel did not sleep. He remembered. He relived each moment in exact clarity, the hope as he unveiled the gift, the shared silence of possibility, the warm light across human faces. And then, the searing betrayal, the sensation of his chest caving inward, the disbelief that the first bullet was not the last. The Elandari did not believe in vengeance. Their codes forbade wrath. But Karel's thoughts no longer aligned with the codes. He had witnessed the shape of Earth's sphere, carved into the minds of its leaders, rooted in the hunger to dominate rather than understand. He had offered salvation, and they had replied with annihilation. What remained, then, but to hold a mirror to their choices? A voice entered his mind. Not spoken, projected. You live, Karel. Barely. What is your will? His answer came without hesitation. To finish what I began. Above the Atlantic, a thunderless boom cracked the air. Radar stations flickered back to life for one brief moment, just long enough to register impossible coordinates. The Varbok had returned, not over a city, but above the ocean, far from civilians. A gesture, perhaps. A warning. News networks scrambled. Military leaders held emergency calls. Some urged restraint. Others demanded retaliation. But Earth was no longer the one making decisions. In Tokyo, Nairobi, and Sao Paulo, black obelisks appeared, smaller than the Varbok, but unmistakably Elandari. They projected no sound, no message, only light. Within hours, hundreds of installations were shut down remotely. Satellites drifted offline. The global internet fractured. Panic spread like infection. And yet, no cities burned. No armies were struck. Karel was not yet bringing war. He was bringing silence. Marcus Dren, now in protective custody, watched all of it unfold from a secure compound in Iceland. His injuries were minimal, but his soul felt heavier with each broadcast. He stared at the frozen horizon. If I'd just stopped them, he whispered. If I had blocked the shot. Imra Jex appeared beside him, eyes red-rimmed and sleepless. She had requested his transfer to her facility, believing he still had a role to play. She handed him a data badge showing Earth's current status, 43% of its critical infrastructure compromised or shut down, not destroyed, just rendered irrelevant. He's giving us time, she said. Marcus looked at her sharply. Time for what? Imra exhaled slowly. To decide who we really are, before he does it for us. And beneath it all, beneath the world's frightened speculation and collapsing systems, Karel watched. The humans had made their choice. Now he would show them its consequences. Above Earth, the stars blinked quietly, indifferent, distant witnesses to what had begun. The Elandari fleet no longer cloaked its presence. From orbit, the Varbok-class vessels formed a perfect hexagonal grid, suspended across the planet like a celestial verdict. They emitted no radio signals, bore no national insignias, and made no diplomatic gesture. Their stillness was a message. The time for asking was over. In Geneva, Marcus Dren stood before a wall of high-resolution satellite images. The ships, the obelisks, the surges of energy, everything had been mapped and studied. But for all their data, humanity had no answers. Just consequences. Behind Marcus, scientists murmured, generals argued, diplomats paced in increasingly narrow circles. He heard none of it. His gaze was fixed on one image, the reconstructed relic, now embedded in the heart of the former UN plaza, rising like a crystalline spine. He hadn't slept since Carell's return. Not truly. He didn't dream anymore, either. Just fragments, flashes of light, the look in Carell's eyes before he vanished again, and the terrible stillness of that final warning. Marcus had spoken once on behalf of Earth. He feared he might be asked to do so again. Dr. Imra Jex brushed past two analysts and approached him. Her lab coat was unbuttoned, streaked with ink and dust. Her eyes, red-rimmed from strain, glinted with something sharper than exhaustion. "He's still watching," she said, her voice hoarse. "The relic tower. It's alive. Or something like alive. It's reacting to global behavior." Marcus turned to her. "Behavior?" She handed him a tablet. On it, global metrics, conflict zones cooling, emissions dropping, markets collapsing, but not in chaos, in pause. Like the world was holding its breath. "It's not punishing us," she said. "It's measuring us." Outside the Geneva compound, protesters had turned to pilgrims. Tens of thousands gathered near the tower, some chanting, some kneeling, some silent. They carried no flags, wore no uniforms. They simply watched the light pulse within the crystal. Earth's leaders couldn't decide whether to call it a miracle or a trap. In orbit, Carell watched too. His new form no longer resembled his original body. The Elandari had remade him with matter sourced from ancient starforges, his consciousness expanded by what they called the Deep Record, a library of civilizations that had risen and fallen before Earth's kind learned to carve fire. He had once been bound by law and protocol, a herald. Now he was something different, a mirror. He watched Marcus in silence. He remembered his voice, the way he trembled but did not lie. There had been potential in that man, a thread of honesty that resisted Earth's tangled politics. Carell had considered annihilation. The codes would have permitted it. But that thread remained. Carell had seen worlds heal. And he had seen them burn. He would wait. General Roland did not believe in waiting. In a subterranean war room beneath the Rockies, he paced between holoscreens and steel briefings. He had survived the Elandari's first purge, but it had gutted his reach. Satellite controls, command protocols gone. But he still had forces loyal to him. And he had one weapon left. One final lever. "We strike now," he said to the others. Military commanders from allied nations, faces flickering with doubt. "We've mapped energy signatures around the tower. It has a central node. If we neutralize it, we may break their network." Imra's face appeared on the monitor. She had hacked the channel. "General, listen to yourself. You still think in terms of targets and victories. This isn't a war. It's a reckoning. That relic is Earth's last conversation with the stars. If we strike it, we end the dialogue permanently." Roland's lip curled. "Then it's a conversation I never asked to have." The channel cut. An hour later, a stealth drone was launched, invisible to Earth-based radar, shielded from alien scans by a synthetic distortion field. It carried no pilot, only a warhead, calibrated precisely to the energy frequency of the Crystal Tower. A final act of defiance. Carell felt at the moment it breached atmosphere. Not through sight or signal, but through resonance, like a single sour note disrupting a perfect harmony. He allowed it to approach. He wanted to see what Earth would choose when pressed. Marcus stood at the base of the tower when the drone appeared, a black needle against the twilight sky. There was no siren, no warning. Just a streak of motion. Then he stepped forward. The relic pulsed. Carell watched as Marcus raised his arms. Not in defense, but surrender. He spoke not to the drone, but to the sky. "If we fall because of this, then let it be truth that kills us, not silence." The drone froze. Its system shorted, not from external interference, but internal command. Someone had overridden the protocol. Roland. Watching. Deciding. He had seen Marcus's gesture. Had heard Imra's words. He had watched the people, his people, stop fearing and start wondering. He shut down the drone with a single touch. The sky held its breath. And then the tower changed. Its color shifted from white to pale gold. The ground trembled slightly. No explosions. No retaliation. A beam of light surged skyward, not as a weapon, but a signal. Karel turned away from the image of Earth and closed his eyes. A choice had been made. The reckoning would wait.
For now.